Hi YouTube, my name is Heather and I love anti-MLM content here on YouTube. Today I'm really excited for us to watch another video from this Beachbody coach on the business activity tracker, where he's going to tell us about how to follow up with the people we've invited. If you haven't watched my other business activity tracker videos, all it is a list of tasks that Beachbody coaches are required to complete every single day. When I say required, it's of course not in their job description. Beachbody coaches are not going to be fired if they don't do this business activity tracker, but they are strongly encouraged and peer pressured, and many of them will be made to feel like they are not real business owners if they don't do this tracker every single day. I'm really excited to get started, and as always, please let me know what you think about this topic down below.
What's up, rock stars? It's your coach, friend, and mentor, Scotty. We are working on the Success Club System Daily Business Activity Tracker. We are on the last part of section 2 of the Connect, Invite, Follow Up with people that you've invited. Remember, each one of these has a...
I forgot. I made a whole video on my channel long time ago about Beachbody follow-up. It's called Your Beachbody Follow-Up Game, and that's just a whole video on this topic, and it goes into in-depth with the different scripts and the timelines that 15-star diamond coaches at that time were using to follow up with prospects for being a customer or a coach.
The checkbox. Make sure that you are doing each of these activities every single day before you go to bed. Make that commitment and that decision.
Every single day. But sir, you've told us that you don't do it every day. You take Sunday off, but you expect your downline to do it every single day, because if they're in your downline, they don't have massive teams underneath them and they're not collecting residual income, because you only have residual income when you're at the very top of the pyramid.
And that promise to yourself that you are going to follow through. One of my biggest pieces of advice is that people will join people that have great belief and energy about where they're going in their life, but also people that they see who are consistent. They want somebody that they know they can count on, they can trust, and that will show up. So you need to decide right now that you are that person.
There's a big narrative in Beachbody. If you don't post on social media 1 or 2 days in a week, the person who wanted to join your team, just because you didn't post, they're going to go to another team, because they're going to say, well, if this person isn't consistent, I'm going to join Johnny instead of Robert, because Robert doesn't post on social media and he's not going to be a good coach and he's not committed to the process and to his health and fitness. I think that's completely untrue. Your average person is going to understand that people need to take breaks from social media and that it's healthy to unplug and not be on Instagram or Facebook every single day. What do you think about that?
As I began coaching, I remember hearing the fortune is in the follow-up. It says right here, follow up with people that you've invited. It takes about 15 minutes every single day. For the first 8 years of my business, I just used a spiral notebook. And what I did, as I'm starting conversations with people, someone shows interest, someone tells me they're interested in the challenge group, they tell me about their goals, maybe they're interested in coaching, I write their name down. And this is a huge thing, because when I first...
So even if you talk to one of these coaches and you don't even say, I'm interested in Beachbody, you're just like, yeah, I like to work out, I do this, I do that, and you're telling them about like what your goals are for weight loss or health, even if you don't ask them about Beachbody, they're still going to write your name down and they're still going to follow up with you and try to sell you a product. So be careful about who you talk to about your health and fitness goals. Don't just talk to anyone about it on the internet if you don't know them. Be careful.
Started, I wasn't writing names down, and I would literally just go into my inbox and just answer messages. I'd start conversations, but I didn't track anything. And I did hit Success Club 10 in April. I hit Success Club 10 in May. And then we started what was called a Team Cup. It was a challenge put on by Beachbody. And
Team Cup is so interesting. I want to do a video about Team Cup. It's just you group coaches into like 4 or 5 people, and then you have a certain amount of time to get the highest amount of Success Club points. And of course, you get really stupid, worthless prizes instead of money. It's really weird, and certain tasks allow you to get more points. So if you sign up as a new coach in a certain time frame, you automatically get points. If you achieve a new lifetime rank, you automatically get new points, and so on. It's super cool, and I'm going to do a video on that.
And my coach was like, you got to track the people that you're talking to for your follow-ups. So I decided to do that. I started to write down all the people that I was having conversations with that were interested. And what it did is it helped me follow up with them and respond. Maybe I sent them a link or I sent them something. It gave me the ability to go back to them and say, hey, were you able to watch that video? Or hey, were you able to read thing that I sent you about the challenge group. And I was able to follow up. And guys, the fortune is in the follow up. I've seen this so many times.
That's a huge narrative in the multi-level marketing industry because everyone has different numbers, but a really common one, it'll take someone 7 exposures to your business or your product until they want to buy or join you. So you have to keep messaging people about the opportunity, mostly about the opportunity, very rarely about the product. And you have to keep planting the seed, like they say, and keep talking about how the business totally changed your life, how you have so much money, so much time freedom, financial freedom, location freedom, that's a new one. And you just have to keep bothering them because eventually they will come around and they will join you.
In different areas of our life. We were doing some flooring once in our home. We had, oh no, it was the AC. We were doing an AC unit. And a guy came, we were ready to buy AC. He came and he checked everything in the house. He went home. He's like, I'll send you a quote. The dude never sent a quote. And guys, we didn't buy AC. It wasn't until 2 years later when we were like, oh, we should totally get our AC. But what I want to share about that is if that guy would have sent us the quote, we were ready to buy it. We had the money. We were ready for it. We had the need. If he would have sent the quote over, we would have said, okay, come put it in. He didn't follow up. So he lost the sale. He lost the client. And we went to someone else later.
I get that. Like, he should have been more professional and did what he told you he was going to do. However, you are an adult and you should have thought, hey, the air conditioner guy last week said he would send us a quote and he never did. I should follow up with him too. So like that I get what comparison he's trying to make, but I don't think it's a relevant comparison, and it's a really silly example because in this case it was on his shoulders to follow up to, and it's also just as much his fault as it is the AC guy's fault. And he's trying to normalize the idea of following up in your day-to-day life. And of course, we know you can't compare normal follow-up to MLM follow-up. Normal follow-up, it's usually things that are going to benefit you or the other person, like directly. Like, if he had followed up with the air conditioner guy, he would have gotten an air conditioner. If the AC guy would have followed up, he would have made more money, right? But then in MLM follow-up, you're following up with people to make sure that they can be a member of your downline and that you can get your team cycle bonuses and your matching bonuses off them. So in my opinion, I don't think it's the same thing and you can't compare them. What do you think about that comparison?
So the fortune is in the follow-up. So whether it's a spiral notebook, whether it's a Google document, whether it's, I use notes on my iPhone because I write them on my phone. They also show up on my MacBook as well. So I just have a list. It's called the follow-up list. And then when I'm talking to someone, I have their name, I put like IG, Facebook, email, text, wherever I'm having a conversation with them, so that when I go to the follow-ups, I can not try to find where they're at. I can go straight to Instagram. I can go to his page. And when I do a follow-up, this takes 15 minutes a day. I follow up with at least 10 to 15 people every single day. What I'll do is I'll go to them and I do a...
So you're inviting like 10 people a day, and he's also following up with 10 people a day. So that's a lot. Like, can you imagine how exhausting that is? Because the next day, anyone who didn't answer your invite from the day before, you have to follow up with them. Continues on and on and on. I feel like it would just be like an endless, constant list that's just growing bigger and bigger. What do you think about that?
A lot of the things we already talked about here. I continue to build the relationship during the follow-up. So I'll go into Sally's page. I'll go see what she's been up to on social media. If she's put new posts up, I'll like them, maybe I'll comment. And then I'll go into her inbox and I'll say, hey, Sally, I know I sent you that video about the coach opportunity last week. Were you able to watch it? Do you have any questions?
It's funny, they always call their example person Sally, like every single top coach does that. But notice for his follow-up, if Sally didn't respond to him, he's going onto her page, he's liking, he's commenting, and then he's going into the DMs. Interesting. So they'll see, oh, this person liked 4 of my pictures and now they're messaging me, I should respond. I just found that interesting.
If she doesn't respond, and then this is the exact process. I'll send that message, then I'll take Sally's name, I'll flip the notebook over, and then I'll write Sally's name for a follow-up on another day. Okay, so...
I misunderstood. So I think this is the first time he's messaging Sally. So the first time he's messaging Sally, he's liking, he's commenting, then he's going into the DMs and messaging her about Beachbody. So he's not doing a follow-up here. This is his first message.
keep track of the people that you're having conversations with so you don't forget about them. To give you guys an idea, last month I had a hard time hitting Success Club 10 before we went on our Success Club trip to Mexico.
Aren't you at the top of the company? Why would you have a hard time hitting Success Club if it's a non-negotiable, if it's part of your business, and if you don't hit it, then you're not a real business owner? Why was it a struggle for you to hit it? Because not everyone wants overpriced fitness programs and nutrition products.
And I was really struggling. And all I did is I went through my entire follow-up list for every single day during that last week. And there was over 150 names on there. And I just got in their inbox, I got in their page, on their pages, and I literally spent the entire day having conversations and doing follow-ups with those people.
Why were there 150 names on your follow-up list? Aren't you supposed to be following up with 10 people a day? Are you not doing your tracker consistently, sir? And all these top coaches talk about you have to lead from the front, you have to lead by example. So if you want your team to do the tracker every day, you have to do it every day too. So with that example, he's clearly not doing his tracker and he's clearly not following up with everyone he's invited.
And in 3 days, I sold 6 challenge packs and hit Success Club 12 before we went on our trip. But I wouldn't have been able to do that if I wasn't tracking them, if I wasn't writing their names down and able to do the follow-ups. Now, you guys are going to get ghosted. What ghosted means is maybe someone says they're interested, you send them some information, and then they don't respond. And you do a follow-up a week later or 2 or 3 days later, you follow up and you're like, hey, Sally, I wanted to see if you were able to buy that package. Maybe you sent them a share card already. And she doesn't respond. One of the things that I do is I go in and I just talk about other things. Like maybe Sally saw the share cart and maybe she saw it in the 5 minutes between picking up her kids at school or in the school line, in the pickup line. And she's like, saw the share cart, and then her daughter came in the car. She's like, hey, talking to her daughter, and she forgets about it. And then 2 or 3 days pass and she forgets that you sent her that message. Remember, she's not running a business. She's not doing a daily to-do list to check her Instagram messages. So that's why it's important to reach out later and be like, hey, Sally, I wanted to see if you were able to open up that share cart, if you had any questions about that package that we put together for you. That's what a follow-up is following up with the conversations that you're creating as you're building a relationship with them, finding out what their goals are, also following up once you send a link to them so that you can help them follow through with that purchase.
I love hearing Beachbody coaches talk about ghosting because they take it so personally. I personally think that if you're talking with someone on the internet who's like not your parents or your spouse or like your best friend ever, if you want to be done the conversation, you can be done the conversation. I don't think you need to have any reason to be done. It would be like the same thing in real life. If you're talking to someone and you want to be done the conversation, you say bye and you walk away, or you just walk away. It's the same thing. And so I understand what he's saying. A lot of people might have just forgotten because we all do that. We look at our phones and we see a message and then something happens and we put it down and we forget until like a week later. That's fair. But then you have to also think, sir, that maybe they changed their mind and they don't want to cause a conflict with you over the internet. Maybe they saw what was inside of the challenge pack and they decided they didn't want to purchase it, but they didn't want to tell you because unless they're your spouse or your parent or your kid, they don't owe you an explanation, especially if they don't know you and it's over the internet. So I think it's a fine solution to end a conversation and avoid conflict just by not responding. What do you think about that? I know some people might disagree and think it's super rude. I personally don't think it is.
The other thing that I want to share about follow-ups is make sure that you continue doing follow-ups after the sale. And I think that's where a lot of coaches make a huge mistake is they follow up, make a sell, and then they're not on the follow-up list anymore and they don't follow up. So
I like that tip. That's a good tip because of the nature of Beachbody products. It's not like Color Street where you just like nail wraps. You don't really need to follow up. It's health and fitness, right? And so I like that tip. Hey, how'd you like Shakeology? Do you like the taste? Oh, you didn't really like the taste? Here's a good recipe. Oh, how'd you like 4 weeks for every body? Did you do any of the workouts? Tell me about it. And so the follow-ups for after a sale is going to be different. And it could also include like sales for upcoming programs as well and upcoming releases. So that's a good tip. I do appreciate that he gives us practical, tangible things we can do to advance our business. And he doesn't just focus on inspiration, motivation, empty platitudes. However, I've said this in a lot of these videos before. It doesn't matter if one of his coaches perfectly follows every single thing he says in these videos, which I think is very good instruction. I give him kudos. Even if someone does exactly what he says, unless they can convince hundreds of people to join underneath them, who also convince hundreds of people to join underneath them, and so on and so on, they're not going to find financial success in Beachbody. And the way I define financial success, just being able to cover your basic needs, having extra to participate in your community, go to the movies, join a club, put your kids in sports, etc. What do you think?
So make sure that you do some sort of follow-up list as well for your clients and your coaches once they purchase. Guys, I hope that helps you out. And don't forget that the fortune is in the follow-up. You're going to do this every single day. Make sure that you're writing names down of the people that you're talking to. Especially once you sent them a share card, that you follow up with them. You find out if they have any concerns or anything like that. And if they're not responding, they're ghosting you. Realize that sometimes can be normal. Just be creative in how to reconnect with them. Don't just be in their inbox like 3 weeks in a row, like, hey, have you gone through about your package? Hey, have you seen your share card? No, go in and do something else and be like, see what they're doing on their social media. Maybe they're going through something. Maybe they're traveling. Maybe they're on vacation. Whatever it is.
I appreciate the tangible tip, but I don't like it. I don't like that. So you want someone to respond to the share cart, so you're just continuing the conversation in an innocent manner, just so they get back to your chat, and then they see the share cart link above it. I don't really like that. I do like, again, he's like, ghosting is fine, ghosting is natural. They might forget. He's giving an explanation and a background to what he's teaching. However, I wish that he also said, sometimes people change their mind, so don't bother them. If they don't respond to you, don't bother them, because maybe they changed their mind and they're trying to avoid conflict. I wish he would say that, because that's a more reasonable assumption than, oh, they just forgot. What do you think?
What I find is maybe Sally's mom had dance competition all week with her daughter, so she's been super busy with that. So I'll go in and I'll be like, oh, I see that you and your daughters were in a dance competition this weekend. How did that go? And you just have that conversation about that. And then what that will do is then Sally will be like, oh yeah, I still haven't filled out that. So a lot of times what I find is,
so you're feigning interest in someone's life and in something that's important to them, just so they remember to fill out your share cart. I don't like that. That's very disingenuous, and it's not a very good thing to suggest, in my opinion.
people forget, the client forget. Not that they're trying to ignore you or whatnot, but they might forget. So it's important that you do those follow-ups and remember that fortune is in the follow-up.
He was about to say fortune is in the follow-up. So what do you think about that? I know we already did a video on follow-up on this channel, but I wanted to cover the entire business activity tracker. I thought it was interesting that he says you have to follow up with 10 people every single day. And then he almost didn't hit Success Club before he went on his trip. And so he went through his follow-up list of 150 people. Dude, why aren't you following up? You need to do what you're telling your coaches to do if you want them to be successful too, right? I do appreciate all of the time and effort it took to teach this entire tracker. I think he's a good speaker. He explains things in a really clear and easy to understand way. Again, I don't think it matters what these poor coaches do. They're not going to find success, especially not at the level of this man who's at the top of the pyramid and who's been in the company, I think, 11 years now. Like, he joined so long ago, and this is totally unrelated, but his coach is Lindsay Matway, who's been literally the #1 coach several times. And I don't know if this is true, but people have said Lindsay Matway in Beachbody, people have said that she is the top income earner. So can you imagine Lindsay Matway having this man in her direct downline? She's raking in the dough just off of this one coach alone. So that's all I wanted to talk about today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.